Joining us right now is Ashley Davis, former White House official under the Bush administration. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us on this crucial day as we look forward to November. It's going to be right around the corner here. So let's talk first about Governor DeSantis. There was this big battle between Nikki Haley and he for second. A lot of Americans wondering, why does it even matter when President Trump has such a great lead? But still, the two are remaining in the race, Haley taking third out of Iowa. What will Haley, you think, or DeSantis need to do to maintain the momentum they have following the Iowa caucuses?
Well, in regards, good morning, first of all. I'm sure you guys are
Good
tired. It's been a long night and morning already. I actually think that in regards to Nikki, she's probably where most expected. I think the thing that in regards to expectations that happened is the poll that just came out right before saying she was in second place. So the fact that she did come in the close third, it was probably a disappointment to a lot of her supporters. However, she's always said that she was going to be strongest in New Hampshire and then go on to South Carolina. So I don't think that this sets her back at all. I will be on calls later today with her team, and there's nothing that's changed in that regard. I think what's really happening is Governor DeSantis coming in second by a significant margin, and we can't ignore how well that former President Trump did do. But I think for DeSantis is where's his path. So he is going to South Carolina next, which obviously it's Nikki's home state, but it's also President Trump does have a big following there. He will go to New Hampshire this evening for the debate. However, he is polling super low there. So in regards to his financial support, I don't know where he goes next, but what happened last night was it lets him have a little bit of breathing room, at least for the next couple weeks.
Breathing room, or can he afford to breathe? Because I mean, you have worked with administrations. What type of strategy do either of them have when they, again, I'm seeing the progress. I'm seeing that they still are in it to win it. And at the same time, most people would say it's over. If President Trump performed the way he did in Iowa, the race has already been called. What do you say to those voters who think that way?
Well, if he continues to do as well as he did in Iowa, I mean, obviously that was the state. And I have to say, and I'm surprised I'm saying this, the polling actually was very close in regards to the final results. I mean, they said Vivek was going to get around 6-7%. Nikki and DeSantis were always within 1 or 2 points of each other, and then President Trump was supposed to win by as much as he did, which was very significant. However, you have to remember, if Nikki and Trump have a very good close call, if Nikki wins or loses by a couple, or President wins, loses by a couple, you go into South Carolina, and then all his legal battles happen. And, we go into Super Tuesday, and Nikki has the money to go into Super Tuesday, and probably the momentum after New Hampshire is what happens when all the people see him getting in so much trouble in regards to some of the lawsuits that will be coming down, especially with the Supreme Court and others.
So is that what Republicans who want a Trump alternate are hoping for? Is it really about that second place position so that if all the chips fall for the former president, there's somebody waiting in the wings if chaos ensues with these legal battles?
I actually think it's more the momentum. I mean, this is what this whole game's about, right? It's kind of when I started at the beginning with Nikki, quote, coming in, this close third. I mean, does it really set her back that much in New Hampshire? Maybe, but I don't really think so. I think that we have to remember that obviously Iowa is very important for momentum, but not very many people that won in Iowa actually became the candidate. Now, obviously, President Trump won by a lot, but we had Ted Cruz that won. We had Rick Santorum that won. I mean, I can go on and on. New Hampshire's the same way. I remember when I did the Bush campaign, we lost. We were supposed to win New Hampshire and ended up losing to McCain by 18 points.
Right.
So all these primary states, are crucial. But going back to DeSantis for a second, the issue with Governor DeSantis, which is different than Nikki, is DeSantis's people that vote for him are more Trump people than Nikki's. And so I think that's the difference between Nikki running against Trump and Trump running against DeSantis.
Yeah. When we've seen a lot of that.
People.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that opinion, is that she's attracting more independents and more Democrats to her side. Ashley Davis, thank you. We know that you're a big supporter of Nikki Haley, and we're appreciating your time right here on Morning in America.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.